So, in spite of Halloween weekend, I decided to do something a little different for you guys. It's not a haunted video, that's coming soon. I was actually supposed to go to Helltown, Ohio today with my friend, but plans changed, and we looked like ahead this week to see like, oh, can we go tomorrow, can we go the next day? Tomorrow, and then like for the rest of the next few days, it's supposed to be rainy and really crappy, so we want to go on a good day. So we probably won't be doing that for a while, and I really wanted to go on a Halloween weekend, so I'm going to tell you guys a story. Now, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I want it to be like a series, because I feel like everyone else's life is like this, and mine is like this. So, I have a lot of stories that I want to tell someone, or that I can tell people, and I figured who else better than to tell YouTube. I'm going to be doing a series of stories, and this first one is a very good story to start off on because there's laughing, there's screaming, and there's embarrassment.
Congratulations, you just triggered a Vietnam flashback.
So anyway, let's get right into the story. So real quick, just in case you guys didn't know, I have a little bit of family that lives in Arizona. I live in Ohio, so it's like across state. It's my Aunt Tammy, my Uncle Greg, and my two cousins, Colin and Jackson. Colin's the older one, and Jackson is about 13 or 14, I can't remember. We used to be really close to them when they lived here in Ohio. If you guys didn't know, my dad actually passed away, and my Aunt Tammy and my dad were brother and sister. So I would go over to her house all the time, and I would go over to my grandparents' house all the time, and in a way, I guess that brought us closer because me and Colin and Jackson would hang out all the time, and Tammy would be over at our grandparents all the time. So it was just really fun. So when I found out they were moving to Arizona, we were all really bummed, but it gave us a lot of opportunities, such as the story I'm about to tell you. So when we fly out to Arizona to visit them for a week or however long, me, Colin, and Jackson usually stay in sleep in the same room. It's a pretty big room, so it's a decent size. And us being cousins, we like to pull jokes on each other. Very demented, mean jokes. Colin leaves the room to go to the bathroom, and while he's in the bathroom, Jackson looks at me and says, "Hey, let's pull a joke on Colin while he's in the bathroom." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" When Colin walks back in the room, let's moon him. So I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea, because now that you know what I'm talking about, these are the kind of jokes that they like to pull, or we like to pull. One of us will leave the room. When we come back, you have to expect to see a butt. Like, it's expected now. You have to walk in and expect to see a butt. And it had happened all week, and I hadn't been able to moon anyone yet. So I figured, hey, why not? Jackson goes, okay, here's the plan. I'll go over here in front of the door, and you stand beside the door. So pretty much I was the first person he was gonna see when he opened the door. So I bend down, I friggin' drawers to the ankles down. Okay, like I was ready to go, like, let's do this. Jackson goes behind the door, but he was waiting, like he wasn't ready to he was gonna pull britches down when the door opened. Like, I was the initial shock. I thought this was a good idea, and I didn't realize the consequences or what could happen of me standing in front of the door instead of where Jackson was standing. So anyway, I'm pumped up. I'm so happy that I'm gonna get someone. I would have recorded it, but I didn't have a camera at the time. I mean, I did, but it was really crappy, and I just don't want to get into that. But I was really pumped to moon Colin. So finally, we hear the toilet flush, and Jackson gets prepared. I'm prepared. We're all prepared. I'm like bending over, looking in between my knees, like this. And we waited a second after the toilet flushed, and it took a minute. So that kind of confused us. That was the first signal, like, you need to stop. The second signal was the last signal, the last warning. It was, you have 2 seconds to rip your stuff or you're done. And I didn't care. I was like, okay, whatever, he's washing his hands for a really long time or something. I'm gonna moon him, and it's gonna be funny. So I'm still sitting there with my pants down, looking in between my friggin' legs, waiting for Colin to come in. Pause. No, for any of you nasty people that are wondering, I had my underwear on still. It was just pulled down to where you could see my butt. I didn't have my face in my area. That's a no-no, okay? So anyway, we we hear footsteps outside the room. And I'm like, oh man, this is it. He's gonna walk in, he's gonna see my butt. So I'm looking through my legs, ready for him to walk in and see his reaction. I couldn't wait to see his face. At least that's how I pictured it. No amount of preparation, no amount of horror could prepare me for what happened next. We hear a knock on the door, and it paused. My mind paused. And this was in my, like, of course, reality, it was like this. But my mind paused and I thought, wait a minute. Why would Colin knock on his own bedroom door? Why wouldn't he just walk in? And when that thought popped into my mind, time unpaused. The door slowly opens and I see my aunt poke her face into the door and scream. Her eyes, I've never seen anyone's eyes get this big, and I've seen a lot of strange things. Her eyes were bigger than her friggin' head. They popped out of her skull, and she screamed like bloody murder. And I was frozen in fear. I couldn't move, so I was standing there while she looked at me screaming, looking between my legs, screaming, and I didn't know what else to do. So the entire time she's screaming, I'm screaming, my butt's out, and she just, I don't even know what was going through her mind, or my mind, when that happened. So she slams the door shut, and I jump up in the air, rip my pants up, friggin' do whatever. And I was done. I was done. My mind was killed. It was dead. Done. And keep in mind, she didn't know Jackson was behind the door, getting ready to moon Colin. So Jackson thought this was the funniest thing ever. Like, he was having a heyday over here in the corner laughing at me because I just mooned his mom, my aunt. And even though it's family, whatever, it was still the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. She walks in, and she didn't even, we didn't even look at each other. She just looks at Jackson and says, I was going to order pizza, where do you want me to order from? And Jackson answered, and she walked out, and for the rest of the night it was awkward. And as if it wasn't already bad enough, that happened like 2 days into the trip. And we were still gonna be there for another 5 days. So for 5 days, I had to avoid awkward contact with my aunt because of what I did. Now, I know, I thought about it this way. My dad was her brother, and hearing about the crazy stuff my dad did, let's just say that she was probably used to it. She should have expected it. So, the last day, we go to leave, our ride was there to take us to the airport, and I went up to her and hugged her, say bye, whatever, and I said, like, sorry for what happened. If it helps, I was really embarrassed about it, and she just laughed and said, oh, I'm sure that you were more embarrassed than I was, I'm used to it. In the end, it was okay, and that was in 2012. 2012 me is very, 2012 me was, well, let's not talk about 2012 me.
Poop.
That was like the second time that we went out there, and we go out there every other year. So after that, I made a vow to myself. I made a strict vow to not embarrass myself while in Arizona. Like, I didn't want to do anything else like that. If I did do something like that, I wanted to make sure that I was pranking the person I was trying to prank. So we went back in 2014. I didn't keep the vow, but I'll tell you that story later. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the story. Yes, that was a true story. Everything about it was true, and there are more stories like that to come. I have a whole list on my phone of stories that I need to tell you that will just make you laugh your asses off, or horror stories, whatever. But anyway, if you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button, because I upload some dope videos. And if you like this story, like the video, so I know that you like the story and that you want to see more. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.
Yeah.